Hello there, I'm the Lore Master of the Lore Keeper's Library, and today we will continue our presentation on the lore of Monty Cook's Chaositech. This is part 4 of the Chaositech lore series of the Dungeons & Dragons lore archive. The Betrayal of Flesh. Like the bones of steel, the Betrayal of Flesh has its origins in deep chaos. It is not, however, wholly powered by chaos, but partially by living energy. They are generally living creatures, often altering their host in some way, whether being added to a host or replacing a host's body part. Betrayal of Flesh both heals from damage and requires some sort of nourishment to continue to function. Along with bones of steel, the Betrayal of Flesh generally are not affected by magic, which generally affects magic. Chaositech is technology subverted by the power of deep chaos, thus not beholden to the rules of magic. Betrayal of Flesh devices, unlike their bones of steel cousins, do not suffer chaotic backlash. They do not explode or fail suddenly, though they may exact a toll on the user in the form of chaotic mutation, ideological transformation, insanity, and inorganic object destruction. Further, the Betrayal of Flesh may draw energy from the user, causing fatigue, damaging their constitution or muscle strength, without applying a chemical known as a nutrient salve directly onto it. A creator of Betrayal of Flesh can keep these organic devices preserved by keeping them immersed and stored in a nutrient bath. Betrayal of Flesh examples. The most intriguing examples, in this humble lorist's opinion, of this abominable, subversive technology will be given in 8 different categories. This is not an exhaustive list of all Chaositech Betrayal of Flesh, but simply the most interesting. Body implants. These are additions, never replacements, of the host's body, generally made with organic and rarely inorganic components. Arachnid Cubby. Ugh! A Chaositech body implant which allows the user to hold within it and telepathically control a swarm of hundreds of small spiders. The victim of the spiders can run around, swat, and bat them in about 20 seconds, or just jump in water to be rid of them. The host can call them back by touching the swarm if they are destroyed by the host batting them away or submersing himself in water or fire or what have you. And the host cannot have more than one cubby at a time. But the unholy fright that is a swarm of spiders. Just God. A disease incubator allows a user to collect, nurture, and foster all communicable diseases, including quote-unquote harmless ones, within the body, effectively making them immune to all disease. After a month, the disease incubator grants the user the ability to spread and communicate a random disease, effectively turning you into a carrier. A regular typhoid Mary, as it were. Lastly, if the user is slain, his body explodes with horrifying airborne illness, potentially infecting all creatures within about 10 feet of his corpse. Who the hell would want to become a disease bomb? Ugh. Replacements. Seemingly self-explanatory, these objects of chaos replace limbs and body parts of hosts, often incorporating both organic and inorganic components in their construction. Most choosing to willingly replace a hand to install a blade are more likely insane, but a few hosts are unwillingly subjected to chaos surgery, replacing limbs with Chaositech by the will of their no doubt demented masters. A Cranial Walker is a device which a chaos surgeon can remove a creature's head from a living body, a stasis pod or a reservation tank, or even a dead body. Place it upon a life-preserving platform, attached with small metal legs and optionally mechanical arms, allowing the head to act independently of a body. It can talk, walk, speak, and even cast spells if the person with which the head belongs to could do so. Fucking insanity. Whatever. A gliding body is a rectangular object replacing the lower half of a creature, allowing it to float 2 feet in the air, controlled by the host's mental commands. Alternatively, a host can have a snake body, granting a serpentine lower body, a spider body, granting 8 arachnid legs connected to a spider-like abdomen, or a wheeled body, granting the host a lower steel chassis connected to 4 wheels. All of those options sound fucking terrible. Whatever. Mind implants. The power of mind implants are granted through surgical additions in a user's brain, which are generally organic with incorporated bits of inorganic components. See invisibility is an implant which confers the user the ability to see invisible creatures by decoding complex visual information. Alternatively, a host can instead succumb to sensory reworking, being granted the ability to pick up minute scents like an animal, see twice as far in conditions of low light such as starlight, moonlight, and candlelight, and see perfectly in pitch blackness. See, that one sounds amazing. Forget it. Whatever. A telepathic deflector grants a host greater strength against effects which affect the mind, with a drawback of not being able to receive telepathic communications of any type. This includes the powers of a telepathic resonator, which allows a user to pick up telepathic communication sent within 100 feet of him, such as from telepathic powers, like or detect thoughts, or dominate, or sending spells, or the communication effects of a telepathic transmitter or a telepathic receiver, granting the host the ability to read surface thoughts of others. That sounds both convenient and inconvenient simultaneously. Standard grafts. Chaos items which are grafted onto a host's flesh, which grant several abilities, such as eye cusps, which fit over a user's eyes, may grant a cadre of abilities, such as the ability to see underwater, as if seeing through air, see in pitch black darkness, or low light conditions, or simply increase a user's visual acuity. Honestly, I'd rather just have the freaking sensory reworking or something. That sounds way more convenient. Familiar, like a wizard's familiar, except it's grafted onto your flesh. It can speak to its host mentally, perceive using its host senses, and if the user can cast spells, take a spell from its user and cast it once a day. That sounds convenient, except there are spells which do that far better than grafting one to your flesh. New flesh graft. These mostly, such as a new flesh sheath, or completely, as in new flesh totality, replace the skin of a user, granting them additional abilities. Cloaking totality, which as a totality, replaces the entirety of a host's flesh, allowing the creature to be permanently invisible. Committing an action which would normally render him visible, such as in accordance to the invisibility spell, such as directly attacking an opponent, renders the host visible for only about 5 to 6 seconds before disappearing again. A host covered by cloaking totality could not be detected by most other means, such as from a Chaositech life sensor, distance viewer, or even heard using a long-range listener. A tracker from a long-range tracker attached to him would fail to send a signal back to the tracking monitor. Mutations which grant divination powers fail to function against the host with cloaking totality. Divination magic can also be resisted by the host. That sounds fucking amazing. BioCrystal. Self-repairing, living, crystalline structures with a look of translucent quartz. BioCrystals can be joined together to form a type of armor, or sometimes weapons. In order to continue using BioCrystal, it must be maintained simply by being exposed to raw chaos once a month, or risk the crystal hardening into an unusability or even disintegration. Raw chaos is terrible, so that's happening. BioCrystal full plate, being more akin to climbing into a second skin rather than donning a harness, provides protection as a field plate harness with the added benefit of actually reducing incoming damage not tied to the esoteric aligned power of law, which means the power of law can go through that damage reduction, as it were. Weapons can also be fashioned from BioCrystal, being as hard as steel, with the ability to keep an edge for much longer and draw a cleaner cut than steel weapons generally. Yeah, but having to reforge it, or not reforge it, but keep it near raw chaos once a month, is that worth it? Raw chaos is fucking terrible. And if you don't know, see my first Chaositech Part 1, or Part 2, explaining why raw chaos is terrible. Healing fluids. Elixirs made from a mixture of chaos and minute amounts of squirming living matter. Ugh. Each is created to repair the systems of living organisms, but in a most unpleasant way. Yeah, no fucking kidding. A revivification injection allows a creature to be brought back to life within 24 hours of its death, but does not heal the body of damage, nor does it rid of a disease, giving the chance of the person revived to simply die immediately if not properly treated of its ailments quickly. Most magic which can raise the dead back to true life often gives say to the one being revived. Not so with a revivification injection. They have no say whether they return to life or not when injected. That would be a crazy torture device. Holy shit. Transformation Milch is a topical elixir which can change a user back to its true form within 10 minutes. It can reverse polymorphism, being turned to stone, and any other medley of transformation. The process, however, is excruciatingly painful, dealing extreme damage to the user's mind. That can also be used for torture. Jesus fucking Christ. Just use magic to turn someone to stone, then use the milk to turn it back? Gods. Living items. These Chaositech items are living, organic creatures which have unique capabilities. They require a nutrient solution or nutrient bath once per week to continue existing. Chaositech Detector. A sphere of flesh, some 3 inches in diameter, will simply shriek within 10 feet of any other Chaositech device than itself. There's got to be a better way to detect Chaositech devices than a ball of flesh screaming at you. Gods. Morphing lockpick. A fist-sized glob of flesh will attempt to open any lock, conforming to the size and shape of the opening when pressed against it until removed. That actually sounds really good. In conclusion, the use of the Betrayal of Flesh is not quite as immediately dangerous as the Bones of Steel, but their price is undoubtedly more insidious. Their upkeep is relatively both less intrusive and less tedious, but needing another Betrayal of Flesh healing fluid item, like Nutrient Salve, is a hassle all on its own. Despite their Machiavellian cost, the temptation of incorporating the Betrayal of Flesh to one's own arsenal of abilities is strong indeed. Even though many of these sound absolutely amazing, I personally, however, recommend to any adventurer, whether a beginner or veteran, to avoid the use of all Chaositech devices in general, lest you find yourself enslaved to their powers, and with them, their true masters, the Dark Lords of Chaos.